Chivana, Joa Yusuna, Denny, Namjuna, Sapimpa, and Nimat, Solanyaya, Ketu, Namju, Lega, Toma, Zadar in the Sapipa Nimana, Nyaya, Ketu, Della Manyan, then left the day to Chinapala. Nitapan took the garden tissues.
So she said she's so happy to see you all, and thank you so much for coming. It really delights her heart, that you show up again, and that there's even like we have a couple faces that weren't here yesterday. And she said, because really what it is indicative of is your dedication and your diligence, really actually taking delight in virtue, which is actually the definition of diligence. So, she said, whether they're mundane activities or Dharma activities, when we really take joy in those activities, then they become easy. And when we become, then we can really actually easily accomplish those things because everything is mind. And so when we really take joy in the practice of Dharma, there's so much benefit. Like normally she said, and she sees that that's the case, that you really like delight in the Dharma and you take joy in this opportunity to come and receive Dharma teachings and practice Dharma together. It's the weekend, so usually, Saturdays and Sundays, people consider to be like their time off. It's a time for like rest and, vacation and sleeping, and you've decided to use your weekend to come here to practice Dharma, which is so so virtuous and so noble. And so she really, from the bottom of her heart, she says thank you.
Thank you. Any kinds in that the Namju, the calendar, Sapimpa Yamatel, Shopanya Yakatu, the Nepama Pinja draw, Gansi Tuya, Mopajan and Roya, the Janja, the Dane, the Rent, Sotananda, and the Gawajanta, Samson, the Monaji Sanjay Songore, Simjin and the Sanjay, Water lower to major. Drama is a Sanjini Sonore. The same day that Drama Sanya she do, so she Zoko true, yeah, Dolo true, the Zoko Digger Mari. Same though, the Gom Jayata, the Chinamiji, the Richie and the Capsule, same day Drama, the sub, ni any Nimo Drapa, she's a Drapa. Did Palkyi the Sun Dunity, Jipa, Snide, Moto Yuri. Mato J. Motoke. Zoko true, Dolo true. The Jedena, Motoke, Jabasa Yate, Alekapo in Bari. And Sanjay Kareson. Suso Semna Yupatini, Jodeshin Botella, any D. Karesen. Sanjay the Susores, Jinje the Sanjay Zarzana Yomares, and it's Suso Maton by Sanjay Susu Sanjay in Bango machine, the Nikoa Chanka.
So again, on usually during the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and we, there's time to relax, to have, to kind of kick back, to be with family and friends, and to, go on walks and things. But, here again, like using this time to really take delight in Dharma practice is just such an incredible virtue. So it is said that all beings, the Buddha has said, all sentient beings are actually Buddhas. It's just that they don't realize that they are Buddhas because of the presence of the temporary the temporary stains or the adventitious defilements, the temporary obscurations. And so we have, methods for like cleaning, or like we can take showers and clean our body or wash our clothes, but this doesn't affect our mind. It doesn't, washing our body and washing our clothes, it doesn't cleanse the mind. So the activities that we have to purify, to cleanse the mind, are the inner practices, meditation, and the various methods for practicing Dharma. And that's really what we're doing as we practice the Dharma, is that we're gradually cleaning or cleansing to a greater and greater degree the mind. We're removing, clearing away these temporary defilements or obscurations, and they're becoming like thinner. The veil is becoming thinner and thinner and thinner. So as we, there are the two types of obscurations, the obscurations of afflictive emotions and the cognitive obscurations. And as we progress on the path, purifying these two types of obscurations, then the capacity to see the true essence of awareness, the true nature of our mind, it becomes easier and easier to perceive and to rest within that. And so, of course, washing our body, washing our clothes doesn't have that effect, but cleansing our mind through meditation, through Dharma practice, does. And so all sentient beings have the Buddha nature. So the Buddha has taught that actually Buddhahood is within you. The Buddha is inside. There's nothing and no one outside to actually find as the Buddha. To recognize or to find the Buddha comes from looking within and doing the inner work. The Buddha is inside. So we all have the Buddha nature, and so therefore we all have the potential to discover Buddhahood. And it's not recognizing that, not understanding that our true nature is actually that of, a Buddha, that we wander in cyclic existence.
아니 산제스니 데다치 타 카시게다 타를 보지 무슨 그 산제스니 데 강고 되니 코아나 수상 검사 냠네 지네데 드파사르 산도 산제 타요를 마도 홉더 칼라치 메토 그래서 메토 지리나 메토 지고나 코다 주 상우단 제거 되니 초단 루 상무 정보도 디나시게 지 산제스니 제 홉더 칼라 지 드바 마장의 제조도 진짜 말이지 당번 코아나는 이제 지네들이 주념내 제는 상제스니 드바 다 삼네 니 산제 차례 된도 뭐 소는 산제 그 상우 요래 되니 저 드프 게바데 마시 되니 란도 시절로 되니 먹게바로 나 철선데 되니 뭐 코아 차선데
So we, even though we are primordially Buddhas, because of not recognizing this, our experience instead becomes that of, obscured sentient beings, and so we experience samsara. But actually, our true essence is that of a Buddha. But it is through the methods of listening, contemplating, and meditating that we gradually clear away the veils, the obscurations that prevent us from recognizing our true nature. But this is a gradual process. We can't expect it to happen like immediately. We're not going to suddenly awaken. It's a gradual process that needs a lot of conducive conditions to little by little clearing away the obscurations, gathering the accumulations, and awakening to Buddhahood. It's like planting a flower. So you have the seed for the flower, and then you plant it in the soil, but you have to have like good fertile soil. and you have to have enough water, and you have to have sunlight, and there have to be like some supportive like fertilizers in the soil or some manure, to nurture the soil. So all of these conditions coming together allow for the seed that has been planted to grow, and gradually it sprouts, and then like it becomes a fully developed bush or tree that then also has blooming flowers. But this is not something that happens immediately, right? It's a process that takes patience. It's one that is gradual. So we have the seed, we have everything that we need, the cause for awakening is present. And so we just have to create the conditions that support that awakening and really persevere in them and continue on the path, and recognize where we have been mistaken in the past, because what continues to kind of perpetuate that not knowing and that wandering in cyclic existence is because we have become confused about what is really serving our true benefit and happiness. What are the real causes for happiness? And so that getting kind of mixed up or confused is what leads us to again and again create the causes and conditions for samsara rather than nirvana or awakening.
아니 다른 파시 쪽나니까 되나 신나팔 르야 됐지 수됐던 아니 가르스나 주소를 시작돼 참마 데 이바 고소들을 아니 다 듣는 노급kaps을 제 공헌나야다 기체나야다 공헌나야다 내나야 Kale kapo yore, dede, suso ke zabzab jinde dede ate, ani zuba kumpon de dores, tene piyon samti mitare zu, deso nam jiyo na le lao mare. Ani tene marata, kare se na mozo gomja nyane jinde, semte jile dede ate, ani samti kumpon de dores, samti jinde, tene mozo gomja de tata, Mala, then something. And Shirak, I'm talking March here because repair Taji, then Travatan, the Shirak, not to the record, the Shirak. And it Chuni in the Chiranto, Gava, Truan, Lea, then my chuya what it turn the Sinti Tanche to do the some did turn on a painting toner, some there, and then soon don't get a draw, it is a charter, passage of the chata, Sankayores.
So we have many of you are probably well familiar with the 6 perfections or the 6 paramitas. And we can know, so this by exerting ourselves or making effort in the practice of the 6 paramitas is one of these methods for, as she was speaking to, gathering accumulations, purifying obscurations and gathering the accumulations. So when we're here in listening to Dharma teachings, engaging in practice together, all of the 6 perfections are engaged, all of the 6 paramitas are engaged. So we make an effort to come here. We generously dedicate our time to being here. Now we make offerings or donations to the center. And all of this is the perfection of generosity, the paramita, the first of the 6 paramitas, the paramita of generosity. And then we also, it's not so easy. Some of us have aches and pains in our body. So sitting for a long time, the knees hurt, the back hurts. And so that requires some perseverance, some patience to sit through and kind of like willingly endure the discomfort of, our bodies. Maybe it's too hot, maybe it's too cold. And so that is the perfection, the paramita of patience. And the benefit of that is really inconceivably vast, enduring hardship, enduring patience for the sake of Dharma. And then we're really listening, we're fully engaged, our minds are single pointed. Maybe as we meditate together, we actually experience some concentration, some meditative concentration. There's single pointedness of focus of mind. So that is the perfection, the paramita of concentration or meditative concentration. And then as we listen to the Dharma, we're doing so in an active way where we're really considering what we're hearing, we're thinking about it, we're turning it over, we're discriminating, we're sort of, making sense of it in our mind, employing our faculty of discriminating wisdom. And so that is the perfection or paramita of wisdom. And then really taking delight in this, enjoying being here, enjoying hearing the Dharma, that is diligence. So the perfection or the paramita of diligence. So the definition of diligence, according to the Dharma, is to take delight in virtue. That's what diligent means. So when we listen and we really kind of delight in being here and we enjoy what we hear and we're really taking it in with a mind of joy and enjoyment and delight, then that's the perfection of diligence. And so in this way, all 6 perfections are engaged just in this act of coming here today and engaging in Dharma study and practice together. So Kongso love you, do it. Oh, so yesterday, she started off by talking about the 7-point posture of Vairocana, and she also taught us the 9 rounds of breathing. So she said, is there anybody here who's new, who doesn't know the 7-point posture of Vairocana, or who's not familiar with the 9 rounds of breathing? Can you let her know? Or anybody who needs also further clarification on it? So you can raise your hand if you don't know. So everybody must know. Yeah.
That's how we do.
Dini yamcha tesa shina pintoyo today.
Never goes.
The yamcha the kungso ha kona yamcha dung yamcha shina chichina pintoyo today.
Yamcha shina. Yamcha shina Tsangmak shinkesar choyo marade jisosan dorde jetene.
So yeah, just to refresh your memory, she said.
Ani chani nyamja.
So first, so you have your 2 hands are in the gesture of meditative equipoise. So, oh no, wait, we're doing the 9 rounds of breathing, not doing the 9 rounds. Oh, okay, sorry. So first, the 7-point posture. The hands are in, one on top of the other, with the thumbs resting together, gently resting in your lap. That's one of the points. The eyes, the second, these are not in a particular order, they're just the different points. So the eyes are cast, the gaze is cast down in front of you, off the tip of the nose, that's another point. The tongue is resting on the palate, the upper palate. And the mouth is not like totally shut, it's also not wide open, it's sort of like resting with a little bit of space between your lips.
하자가 마오 마이부터 저저도지 나한테는 마음밤데 저저도지
The chin is not tilted up so that you're like looking up out into space, but it is tilted down. It's not super tilted down, but it's like a nice kind of balance between slightly tilted down, which helps assist the elongation of the spine so that the spine is like all the way straight to the crown, and then the gaze is comfortably cast downward. The spine is as straight as an arrow.
아니 the shorter that super the tagate the good otala that the pajama
and the shoulders are kind of rolled back so that the chest is forward, but they're dropped down comfortably, so that the chest comes forward and the arms are resting as you have the gesture of meditative equipoise in your lap. There's the arm is sort of like the wings of a vulture, meaning that they're not squished against your sides and they're not like too far out, but they're kind of like comfortably resting there.
아니 장바다 저정나 그래 저정나 저네 아니 그 성기 상마 라마 자자는 장바 저정지 더지 저정다 시절도 설깔이 네 되는지야다 더지 저정지나 되게 네 이제 시절지나 되게 네 그래서나 급자 칼라 되나 되게 소화 가 되나 이네 급자 칼라 가세 되나 되게 파지야 마하네요 되게 해서죠라 아니 그래서나 류장은 짜장 샘장스 샘사워차 인데도 때는 이 그야 그니까다 그래서 거기 되는 지 되니 사드서 저 장보 메가 차는 되니 녀가 차야 니 그야 리밤서 차레스.
So then the seventh point is that the legs are folded in the Vajra position. So that being said, it like back in the day, probably all practitioners had no problem sitting in like full lotus posture. But of course, that's definitely not the case. There are very few who can actually sit in full lotus posture now. So actually it is adjustable. So meaning like you can comfortably sit in meditative position, either in half lotus posture, full lotus posture, just with your legs comfortably crossed, or sitting in a chair, with your feet in front of you, with the spine straight. Then that is also, there are varieties to like the position of the legs. So that's the 7th point. But in any case, the main point being that we are straight. Our posture is straight. Our spine is as straight as an arrow, as she said. And so that if we're sitting on a sofa, if we're sitting on a chair, if we're sitting on the floor, we still have this like column of the spine as sort of our pillar in our practice for the posture. And this really helps to brighten, the awareness, because otherwise if we're like kind of collapsing we're crooked, our spine is crooked, or we're collapsing into the back of the chair, into the sofa, then we'll just get sleepy, first of all. And then also we don't have this opportunity to kind of like strengthen or lengthen and like elongate and straighten the subtle channels in the body, because it said, if the body is straight, if there's an erect posture, then it allows the channels to straighten out, and that also generates kind of a clarity of awareness, a clarity in the meditation.
아니 다 모양이 유만이 야가 이만 이들이 가서는 가다난 시다 또 미바데야 롱어부거든 산제다서 저수가 탐지시나다 네 롱카프나바 네 저렇게 가오상하 네 야서 카프나바 롱드냐 대성선 then how in ma no de ma zopon tram 아니 마 땅을 가서 소소도 마타 동게 이 바제 되니 빅바다 드바카 유바데 되니 마 땅소 뭐 들리지는 빅바지야레스.
So and then when it comes to the 9 rounds of breathing that she taught us yesterday, the main thing is what we're visualizing as we're practicing this, as we're meditating. So, as you breathe in, as she mentioned before, imagining that you're collecting all of the blessings and wisdom and qualities, the love and compassion of all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And you can imagine that you're breathing this in, like in the form of like a kind of white wind or kind of white light. You're breathing it in and you're filling your fully filling your body with this kind of radiant, clean, and pure wind that holds all the blessings and qualities of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And then when you breathe out, you're breathing out all of the kind of unclean wind, all of the obscurations, defilements, obstacles, illness, suffering, negativity, all of that is expelled from you as you exhale. So now we can do the 9 rounds of breathing together. So first you can sit, in the 7-point posture with first your hands in the gesture of meditative equipoise, one on top of the other with your thumbs resting together or leaning against each other. And then, as actually is always the case when we're practicing anything, when we're meditating, so we really want to come into a full presence of being, so that our body is on the cushion and our mind is here with our body, that we're actually present. So let's just meditate for about 5 minutes like this.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now we will do the 9 rounds of breathing. So with the Vajra fists first, which you just demonstrated. And taking your fists and going from the kind of fold between your torso and your hip and going down your legs to your knees. And then taking your left hand finger and putting it under your right elbow and doing the circle. And blocking your left nostril and breathing in through the right. And circling, blocking the right nostril and exhaling through the left. Again, same thing. Blocking the left nostril and inhaling through the right. And switching your arms so that your right finger is underneath your left elbow. And then you're switching your nostrils so that first you're blocking your right nostril and breathing through the left. Then taking both fingers and extending them to rest on your knees, and then breathing through both nostrils. You can put your hands in the gesture of meditative equipoise again. And rest them in your lap as I think we meditate together for a little bit.
근데 정서 또
So how is it for you?
되게
smoother afterwards.
Tini di chini ki jela di nutong te sa le lawa da wo cha kiore.
나
Te pena dampo di che. Tini jela yang rangshin nutong
야,
che ya di te sa le lawa da wo.
야. 안에 검르진이 빼야 잘했어.
And then as you get more used to it, she said you really like feel the effects, the benefits and the effects. It's a really great practice to do regularly.
I feel the oxygen reaching the extremities. It's very important.
The nune the long nune the na the panakang ba dam lakpa ge yin la sama la dropa nangshin sorry
너고 그랬어.
yeah that's how
또 자체 참아 사대 가래서 이러더니 사대 첨나시
sagare.
사신이 첨나시 첨능 사신.
Oh, she said the channels are like houses, like a house. So it's like the air can go all the way into the channels to the extremities.
내 말을 그래 하고 그래. 나는 첨나시 가래차돼서 무슨 주 암체인들다 다이는데 자 진가 찾는데 니 누구나 잘라서 첨나시 차돼.
It's really good for health because what we're doing is if one of the channels becomes blocked, then there's like health complication that can come from that. So when we're breathing in and we're consciously sending like wind all the way through the channels, then we're helping to like prevent blockages and things.
When we do the thing on the thigh, what channel is that we're compressing and why was that helpful?
제가 가서 이 시계 짜도 짜고 쓰기를
So
시라크 이 시계
So she said, well, first of all, when we put our thumb against the base of the ring finger, we're blocking the channel of afflictive emotions.
And the thigh?
그래서 막 대야 제단계에서
Actually, there are lots of explanations. So some people say, yeah, so sometimes like there's a connection with like the quality of like love, then it like blocks kind of affliction and opens the channel of wisdom. And so that is why like also sometimes we wear like the ring, like wedding finger rings there, and she said then also same thing, like so it is and then in the afflictive emotion channel is also running here, so that's what you're pressing against in your legs there and going kind of like pressure. Yes.
Yeah, you're putting pressure on that channel.
Oh, so not like that, but you make sure that she said you're doing something there. Yeah, that's right. But one is moving yourself, yeah.
근데 간신은 나한테 김치도 산소. 간신은 좋아지면 쇠와 장사 되어라. 랭데 되네 공부다. 내가 또 샴푸다 그래서 제 지역값을 제 샴푸도 늦어서 줘도 되게 지그레마도 되게 지금 말이야.
So also she said, so this finger is connected with love, the ring finger, and she said, and it's so interesting that there's this tradition in the West where people get married and they wear a ring on the ring finger, because also it's like, for instance, when we do offerings with like when we make an offering tea offering, you know, and that the basis for that is
Yeah,
love or
yes.
devotion, right? And we're always flicking it with the ring finger. We're not flickering it with like the middle finger.
Offering to the
So,
things
yeah.
Yeah.
These are the
So nectar and tea offering, yeah.
So Garshin does that with the, he does that with the tea, you know.
Yeah,
It's the
exactly.
bodhicitta
Yes, yes,
practice
yes,
of
yes.
that, yeah. and,
John Tusi
Yes.
Sim Dam Yam Du Jidua.
yes.
Yes, exactly.
So as far as exhaling, does it always have to be through the nose, or could it also be through the mouth? Does it
They
matter?
gadi na di thong na tani they now ne thong yore be something like khan thong yore.
Only.
No, nose.
That's always,
through
even
nose.
when
Only
you're
nose.
doing your meditation.
Oh, you mean
Yeah,
generally?
yeah, sorry.
Tani di
I know
chikang
there's
no
nose.
thang du gadi na yang nane upinagong yana tani nane no thong yore be something like khan no thong yore.
다 가르치는 가난의 우려야데 가르상하 개념내는 주로는 가르쳐 있는 장물로 나타 장물로 가난데 장어글로 이 나그 롱데 되니 이시글로
Gari yeshivum gari.
이시글로 가운 되니 가르치는 되니 아니
Dzogchen kala khan.
배나 망보지 가르치시나 가르치시나 컨트롤 랑도드 컨트롤 랑도 그냥 좀 마이서 칸나 땅거리 책 독자들은 칸나 땅거리 그래서 참마 장을로 되는 나오는 데도 참마 이식을로 되는데 다당 뭐 신내야 거기 검 보수는 검장 참관을 선치선 지어를 가서 되니 이식들 롱데 망 되니 니망가 롱 냥을 저는 근데 체를 왔다 내미바 차야데 드리려 다 컨트롤 랑데 드리지 뭐저 컨트롤 랑야라 된 소소라 가르스 두스 도고 차야다 되니 스트레스 먹고 차는 롱 먹고 진짜 허여래 상승아 차라 롱 먹고 진짜 뒤가서 아니 체도 통통 허여래
So she said, generally speaking, it's advisable to breathe through the nose, because it's also said that when we breathe through the mouth, that like is the cold becomes cold wind. Whereas, you know, breathing through the nose is more of a connection with the primordial wisdom winds. So also, if you think about it, you know, like when we're sick, you know, we tend to breathe through the mouth because our nose becomes blocked. But we say negative words with the mouth. So there's kind of a more connection, like when we're breathing through the mouth, it becomes like cold, more of a cold wind connection. Whereas, you know, we have, and also, you know, what happens when you breathe through the nose, it's normally like also as the wind really settles and you kind of breathe less, then it's more of a nose breathing. And when we become angry or when we become stressed, often we then breathe through the mouth or, you know, and also at a faster rate. And so as she had mentioned before, that when you stay in like 3-year retreat, and actually the winds become really, really settled and the breathing rate slows down a lot. And so there becomes like a propensity of the primordial wisdom wind and less afflictive emotion wind. And so like generally that's, you know, so just generally speaking, when we meditate or when we practice, we do breathe through the nose. And she said, and as there becomes more of a propensity with the wisdom winds, this also has a really strong connection with overall health and longevity. So it can also increase longevity. Oh yeah. So like Milarepa and other really great yogis, they attain the city of swift-footedness.
남주 공감바죠 고진 자마다 아 롱던 생이라고 터서는 되니 소고 배양고 지다 오늘 디 심보지 오빠 심보지 차서는 되니 토미스 근데 디 장도 토미스는 토제는 토미스 디 장판난 선언을 또 뭐라를 받으려요 Beki tampo pa rechon ba ga tene chado che de tene mala re pa ga samar se bu do tene kon ke chalo la chi sa ngara ni tre tang chi bo de ro yin nen dron de tene tang chi bo la la sa de ta mala re pa long san ra to so de zem ter chi bo yo re rechon ba de si ra yo ma re cha ma de na chado che de tene kon ke ta chalo la tang tra po dan xina dan de zo jia mi sa chi song ani sera pa ge ta sera pa de mala re pa ya ra cho de zi song ya ra cho ani ta je chong ba ge ta sera de de po jia so mala re pa de ka de cha ma chi orang ang che je ta mala re pa ko ni ka ge che ra ani mala re pa ra cho na gar gar yang racho de chen royo mares racho de haten chong royo mares ane de endu karesen longsha rawan tawsa na teni kong mala re pa chong roso ma racho chen roso ma yara no dis o de na shi ge teni korang ke de cha do me ba cha sa o de na shi ge de longsha rawan ya ko de tawsa na teni thomi se da racho chung chong re ko thomi yu de kawan zira de racho da sa re yara.
So there's this what happens is when the wind and the mind fully unites, and one like develops control over both the mind and the wind like this in unification, then there are a lot of cities or like attainments that come from that. So like she mentioned this attainment of swift-footedness, because the body becomes very light. Like Milarepa is an example of someone who gained such mastery over the winds, that he could move through walls, and like they're so together, and his body was very light. He had the city of swift-footedness. So meaning that also, there's kind of a porousness to phenomena or reality, that there's no like impediment, so one can move through solid objects. There's this kind of lightness of the body that kind of defies like the ordinary kind of rules of phenomena. And there's a story, for instance, of Rachungpa when he had come back from India, and he was a bit arrogant, and he was sort of jealous of Milarepa and arrogant, and so Milarepa, seeing his arrogance, took him to a kind of open field. So they were walking, and they got to a big open plain where there was nothing. There were no trees, there was no like grass. It was just like a wide open plain. And then there was a rainstorm and hailstorm, and Milarepa demonstrated to Rachungpa, his powers, his mastery over like the mind and winds, where he was able to take shelter in the horn of a yak that was on the ground. And Rachungpa at first didn't see Milarepa and was like, what happened to him? Where is he? And he was like, getting completely barraged by all of this rain and this sleet and or hail. And then he heard Milarepa call out and say, hey, come join me in the yak horn. And somehow Milarepa had gotten inside without making his body smaller and without making the yak horn bigger. And Rachungpa, had not attained that level of mastery. And so he was not able to get inside of the yak horn. And then, of course, through this demonstration, he became very humbled, and so then he sort of lost his pride, and was no longer jealous, and then, had like appropriate devotion towards his teacher, Milarepa, because Milarepa had he had this reached this point where he was no longer like impeded by kind of this ordinary perception of true existence, and so he was able to, phenomena becomes flexible at that point.
Okay. Any kinds in the long sun round it tops on the companion the pond on the G2 Maris, says the Gandolan. Repar dozen, thoroughly dozen parallel. None than Morata, Tada, Gia Maris.
So same with this city of swift-footedness that specifically comes from this unification of mind and wind, where you can go very, very quickly, you know, like Milarepa could just instantaneously like go up a mountain and down a mountain, you know, there without kind of like a car or an airplane. There were no cars or airplanes at that time, but he was able to sort of travel with the same kind of swiftness, kind of unimpededly through space.
Hemamoto, Drupon did Drupon Jayor, Kong Desare, Kong Songre, Kong Gono, but Jachukar lived there. Musonyam the Kong Jitu Mari. Muso lodging Jora,
Yeah.
Kong lodging Bori Gono. This Hongkong and this land or your la ya, Chimbo Mata, Yasakan,
Garibula.
Mariti Tete. The Jagan. La they said la chimbo mari, the dead or Moto lodging Jorda, Konyam the dog. Conga didn't bend your body. Amba to pay young woman, they Conga Songer. I just saw lodging Jordy, not lodging body, trying to take a long sim, and draw that in his own long the fair Kanga the young bocha, your bocha. So
there was a Drupon where she was staying in retreat, you know, one of the places where she practiced in retreat, and there he was in his 80s, and a lot of the nuns who were also staying in retreat were, you know, they were really young at that point, like maybe in their 20s or 30s, and they, when they would walk, there was also like a kind of like a hill, a pretty big hill up below the retreat huts, and so they would go with the Drupon, and he was like way ahead of them, you know, even though he was in his 80s and they were really young, and he would joke and be like, oh, look at me, I'm in my 80s and you guys are young and I'm so much faster than you, and he said, what the problem is, you haven't united, you haven't fully unified the winds and mind. When you do that, you become very swift on your feet, your body becomes really light, and your feet can go, you know, very quick, you can move quickly.
Oh, I did. I noticed in Australia, really, my also my ears are like kind of pop or like a flow. Was they doing it right or?
Tini mo di Bombay kala tini di amcho layang chik swar yore benam papa kawo chabi yorwa di kati
long Kadika,
long bena
Angaputa.
when you were breathing in or breathing out.
I'm not sure which
Di
one.
dingimendo hajer upamwe kala tini di amcho layang ko swar yore tini di norwa re yang na kande. Does it hurt, or you were just feeling something?
No.
It's sort of your yapo. It's sort of yapo. You can
Again, Marco, so what the lugger, long the Lantica. Zamda Carson long took him yantin. Zamda, I'm talking Laya and Nikayo. Yeah, this is a Zopola. That Buba, I'm telling Matoyam. Long took Chivo, you will die.
So she said, that can happen. Like you feel it is natural to feel it there. She said, sometimes if there's too, you know, like if you're too strong, either in your exhale or your inhale, I'm not sure, but with the wind, then it can kind of, it sounds like maybe like a sort of popping type of thing, like when we're in an airplane. She said sometimes that can be a sign of having a strong predisposition of the wind element, like constitutionally, having a lot of wind. Yeah. Yeah, she did say that. Yeah. Any long young day, Shadam, Madawa, your egg, Karsam, Sum, Yoroa, Chichina more than Diana, Gains, and Numba, the Shadam, his future for your egg. And Anything to Tsa Lung yang the guitar tower you know something.
What is it? She dancing it laundry. That was she done laundry. Pop the cat down the car. She done out the child. She got take that dumb by Martin chat in it. Walked on the childress. Then the ma chat and she done the mega chatter. That think of the laundry.
Yeah, so she said, oh, not to be confused, like it's not actually, when she also did kind of clarify this yesterday, it's not that anger is of the wind element, you know? It's that there's a connection with the wind, like when we become angry, like our face gets red, our breathing increases, you know, we kind of like and that feeling of the rush, you know, the upward rush of the anger is like the wind element, right? So that's the connection there, yeah.
The long the chipa like taking like
So actually, she said she's not a doctor, so she can't, you know, but the Tibetan doctors, they, you know, there's the different constitutions of like wind, bile, and phlegm, and there is, you know, a lot of intricacy there and understanding these kind of elements and constitutions in the body from the perspective of Tibetan medicine, which is kind of like a different thing. Yeah. So also when we have a strong wind disposition, when we have a strong propensity of wind, you know, we feel it when we go in airplanes, right? Like sometimes the ears get blocked or pop, or we sometimes get headaches. So.
What is the meaning or the difference between someone with a wind propensity and who doesn't have a wind propensity?
Long chimbo, me parla ta long sin ta rengi dwa. Tata control long the nasa ke long de mare.
So there are two.
Control ke tango so control long de tin. So ra kare se book la mare book.
Yeah.
La de moti na shi ke long. Then take the nasa ke koran zokola shiran ne pa me de tin. Take long.
So there, she's sort of making this distinction between like, you know, when we have a strong propensity momentarily of wind with something like an arising of anger, as opposed to having like a wind imbalance, and according to Tibetan medicine, like having, you know, maybe in Ayurvedic, like a strong vata, right? That you're very, like, meaning then there's that usually is connected with not having, like the body being kind of weak, like not having a lot of power physically in the body, she said. So that's a different type of thing. That's like a lot of illness can be attributed to when any of the humors or elements get out of balance, and there's like a propensity of one over the other. So like if there's a strong propensity of wind in comparison to the other humors, then that imbalance can lead to different types of illness. And general weakness, like weakness and fatigue. So,
long you kid them in kitchen carison. Long show mina ni carison. Zopo nyokto macha yata. Then ni ya yata. Then tong tong chow mare. Tong control tower. Them chung jela control long tower the chada. That is so long show chimboina.
So sometimes people who have strong wind, they have sleeping problems, it's hard to sleep, they get kind of easily agitated. There is maybe more of a propensity towards anger, like they can kind of like quickly take offense or become angry easily.
I'm trying to get that.
And so hearing your ears pop, for instance, when you go on an airplane might be a sign of kind of having strong wind.
Oh, the little child is.
So how do I do that?
The Garci Lung Shuk Chambu Yona, the Lung has a Jamia, the Tachi Yakshu Gare.
나타 그 long line, control 그 long line.
So do you mean like, so she said
Is
like,
there another thing?
no, she keeps making this distinguish, so she said distinguishing like, do you mean like health-wise, like a health imbalance of wind, or like anger propensity?
Because you get every single foot on this actually what I have.
The more than that, the control yanada, natsa yanada, more the top did sama yore lasso.
control 있나? control 있나? 대신 가르치나 그 심보. 아니 소소 르르 검자 무신데 소소 냥카나 스페이스 르르 진데 르르 제가 타피진 데스데 되니 control the master of it.
So she said, especially as relates to like a kind of hot-headedness or strong facility towards anger, becoming angry. She said, calming yourself like as much as you can. So like really applying appropriate techniques to relax. To find like a private space that's quiet, and to intentionally kind of try to calm yourself, relax, maybe lie on your bed, and just like let yourself relax and calm down. If you can meditate, meditation is incredibly beneficial, incredibly helpful. But if you have difficulty with meditation, then just really doing things that help to facilitate relaxation and calming. To calm the body, calm the mind, and relax.
일단 그 어떤 long 메디지아요 말이지. 영화 기억할 차대요. 또 영화 기억할 차대 long 메디요 말이지.
So everybody has wind. We all have the four, elements in our body, and so we all sometimes experience, that kind of propensity of the wind element. But some people do kind of have certain elements are stronger than others, for different people based on constitution. So for her, it's bio.
Just a procedure. I heard some people were blowing the wind out and other people weren't. Is there a preference?
Blowing the wind out? Oh, making noise.
The second
양아 pokazał 자신 도는 데서 자자위 거를 마땅히 쇼치에 담을게요 말이지. 자 요바다 메바 제발요 말이지.
So she said the main thing is the visualization. So like different people, for some people it might be more audible, like it might seem stronger, but it really it has to do. I don't know, were you here yesterday?
No.
Oh, okay. So I'll also fill in because yesterday she did say that with each exhale, so we have 3 exhales, each nostril and then in both nostrils. So the first one she said is long and strong, and the second one is short and strong, and the last one is long and gentle. So that's why you're hearing sometimes. But she said also with regard to hearing the exhale, it's also going to vary from person to person. And she said in general, when people have high blood pressure, you want to be a little bit careful with the in-breath, like not to like breathe in too quickly and too much all at once. But with the out-breath, it doesn't matter. And so then, but the main thing, regardless of like the intensity of the exhalation and if you hear it or not, the main thing is the visualization.
Okay.
Mantra can also be employed as a grounding technique, just as we were saying, just go sit and maybe do shamatha. Mantra also.
Tini di Kanagarsi Lung Chimboyuna, Kundro Chimbochinuna, Tini Lolo Jaya Yang Pinto Ujiro. Yeah, sure.
Also, down the garden, Sanjay Tucker to the Jimbora, and the not Dayake, look at the bata, market the bata. Then you control on Hatela, not the Jaden, that Jiram the Ya, Jiram, the Zoram, the so Yamni Jemashi, Ha Kortan the machine. Not the Jala, they didn't control the man jam to this. So the same in the Chigmato, Nio Maris, the Lurati, Temna, young mamma called it on Tare, the Caledua, Semnam. The Semnan slow Jamiba. Did it in the Della Sented in Marlo Lord of Rest.
So she said, yeah, definitely mantra is a very powerful method, and especially in the moment of anger, like if we're like really triggered and we're angry. She said the Buddha has such extraordinary compassion and has provided so many different skillful methods for transforming and working with the mind. And so when we recite mantra, there's, purification of the body, as we have the mala and we're using the mala, purification of the speech, because we're using our speech in the recitation of mantra, and then of course purification of the mind. And so when we, even if we don't really know how to do generation stage and completion stage, even just reciting the mantra and keeping our mind on the sound of the mantra can really have a pacifying effect in the moment of anger. And part of this is because we just have one mind, so our mind can only be kind of like focused on one thing. So if we're angry and then we instead start reciting the mantra and we're like there with the sound of the mantra, Om Tare, Du Tare, it's so forth. Even if we don't say it out loud, like if it's difficult to recite it out loud or we can't because of the situation that we're in, even just putting our mind inwardly on the mental recitation, that really helps us to disengage from the anger or the emotion that's present, and it can really just evaporate as a result of reciting mantra. So it's definitely a good method.
And that long of the truth, the Sri love the Dra, you but Dra, Toma, Jamna Ringa love you. Yam Zandam Karatina, Namanyam the Niata, Zatanyam the Niata, Tomatus Nyam the New Capsula, so Ni se Dra Chimpo, down the Yam, the Merging Dani Koya Patis, child then Dami Bakare, so ya now, then the Me baya poti now the job but the digit. Mara the knee caress and no take to Maris. Them the mutton ye the dig now the dash. Yet the cheese it is some jet and the near. Mother control on me, my dear.
So she said regarding the sound of the exhalation with the 9 rounds of breathing, she also wants to say, like, you really shouldn't feel like the sound is so important or like it has to be there, like the strength of the exhalation, because she said, especially if you're in a group situation and like somebody's sleeping in the same room as you, and like you wake up early in the morning and then you're like making these loud noises, then the person might wake up and might be irritated, and so you don't want to like disturb the mind of someone else. So in that case, you should just like do it quietly. It doesn't have to have sound. Yeah.
I think that's all Karasina. Not Danya and the cake. Drupon and Zanda the two the dote. Karasan. Yankana Sape Pingare. Solon Ada Kahipe Senna, then Semgender than Kanganda than Jedi. Then she Mambo, some of course, didn't Nasa de Yoke hard down the digit, not the Jara, they hard down the digit. The Dachimbo and the Dachunjon, the dead Jatted. Yankee Solon can not the Pinkares.
So she said also back to, mantra and recitation, she said that can be so beneficial in counteracting like heart imbalances or heart issues and depression. Because it really gives power to the life force winds. And so like, especially if we like really have a lot of worries or stress, we're thinking a lot, there's a lot of issues that we're preoccupied with, doing mantra can really help to dispel the energy of that stress, or kind of overthinking. And so, and also like physically making the sound in your body, whether it's like kind of low volume or like a louder mantra recitation, that it can really help to fortify those life force winds.
이제 간지는 보 금마라 닝닝이 간지는 보 마데 철로 과자 쟁도는 되네 이단야다 제 럭럭이야더니 다 이랑들이라 네 소소게 마그 만나다 로마다 다서 쟁도로 칭마 마장케 요마르니 가르세 칭마 카틱 작진라 카케 라파스는 칭마 장는 카케 작진라 히차들 작진라는 딱 해야게 다자 다쇼거든 다 요건도야 해야지 된 작진라 나 카케 작진데 칭마레스 칭마들 라파는 장선ਜੋ 카케 징미지 도야게 탑시지 영그리 네 되더니 뭐가 그래서 서로 칭마죠 잠잠 이당 잠잠 럴렌 잠잠 나도 당은 도도는 나타 소롱 그 나타데 닝롱 그 나타도 영향을
So actually, she said in Tibet, there's actually very little depression. There's not many people who are depressed. And she thinks that's because they're singing all the time. So like they go out and they're in the mountains or walking around and they're like singing, you know, and sometimes like singing loud songs. And they also have, always, every Tibetan like always has their mala. So they do tons of mantra recitation, like mani recitation. They walk outside, whatever they're doing, you know, and it's like it's said that the mala is like a whip, you know, like a horse whip, you know, like so you have the whip and that like makes the horse run. So the mala is like the whip of the mouth, because when we have the mala, then it reminds us to recite mantra with our mouth. And so if you have your mala in your hand all the time, like the Tibetans do, then they're always being reminded to recite mantra. So the mala is in the hand, and then if the mala is in the hand, then automatically the mouth is going to be going with like the mani mantra or whatever mantra. And so she thinks, you know, so there's that, they're always reciting mantra, and there's a lot of singing, just like singing various types of songs and really like projecting, you know, out in the mountains, singing songs. And so she thinks that this is why there's really not a lot of depression. And like there's a lot of kind of vitality in the life force winds among Tibetan people, because there's a lot of singing.
다다 지제네라 그다 결혼도 리간데 거자고라 거자 게모 현나니 때 주된이야 보여라 거자는 그란 리간도 게 침보자야다 되니 게모만 보셔나 나사 용을 열어
So when they say that, like some people say, like if you go out into the mountains, even in the West, and you kind of yell into the mountains, that there's benefit, like health benefit in that. And then also laughing, you know, that laughing has health benefits, you know, actually like a hearty laugh, having a hearty laugh.
In terms of the things that are good for the channels, could Drupon say something about the effect of Nundro frustrations for the channels, having them in good condition?
Kuni the Tsa Yapo Chaya Kichidu the Panachaksa Chaya Tandrawa Chayurele.
산테라 요마레 다 가르치 거스나 담보 다 가주바이나 도르데폰 네
Mare Dila Chitang the Penamundro Kaba Chaksa Chaydu the Yang Tsa Pingu Sare.
리리리 핑거를 다 가르치나 차차가서 네 르게 차차가 되네 이 자트소 장보 용 되네 장 거려야 고
Mhm.
디카다 거랑 차 라야 돼 가르스 무조게 차만 하시 저거들 이제 짱마서야 차마게 난 난도서 차마 차는 짱마서 차 신내들 저거 짱마서야 돼 무조게 데카르스는 다 데파데 드바 그래서 짱마서야 아니 나게 잠도 도야 돼 아니 나게 드바 타야 돼
So definitely there's benefit for the channels in doing prostrations. So it like lengthens, you know, it sort of like unknots and lengthens the channels. It creates, so there's in general, you know, prostrations are said to be like a really powerful purification for the body. And in fact, the word, and also it creates their circulation, you know, a lot of circulation that is stimulated through prostrating. And the word chak in Chaksal, which is also like the word changma, which means to sweep. So like when we clean a space by sweeping it, it's sort of like the prostration is like the sweeping of the body that happens that cleans out the body. So there's tremendous purification through prostration. Doing prostrations with the body purifies obscurations accumulated through the door of the body. And as we do the prostrations with our body, we're also reciting refuge prayer with our speech, and that purifies the obscurations of speech. So it has this dual purification of both body and speech.
오케이, 좋았어. 나 가장 대단 요즘 이제 나 무슨 그 가장 사회마 로마 장마 딱 간절 인터시다 때 로마데 로마데 가르리스 장마데 가르리스 왜 프랑스 좋아하는데
So, so now she's going to quiz you. So yesterday, you know, we learned about the three.
더 amazing.
So not to the new people because you weren't here yesterday, but for those of you who were here yesterday, so we learned about the three channels. So the Uma or the central channel. Oh no, I'm not. So there are three channels. So she wants you to tell her what they are and describe them. Right. Yeah. I don't know the yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Chalmatam Roma and Dinigari, and then which is which? Do you know?
The red one is Roma. Red one is Roma.
Dini Marple Yana Roma, Dini the Bruno Tangrawa Yoga, Dini the young Chama Karpo,
I know what they are.
Purple.
Red is female, the white is.
And what is the is that on the right or left?
The red is on the left.
The marble the yon cholare, dini carbo the ye So just so you know, also it's different in different systems, so it's not always the same. Yeah. So in the 6 yogas, the right is white and the left is red. And sometimes it's reverse. In some systems, in the right is red. And it doesn't matter so much. What you want to do is, depending on what system you're following, like what text you're using, you want to meditate according to how it is in that text. Uma. And that's, you used, interesting, I thought that we say in Sanskrit, rasana and lalana.
Rasana, lalana, tekala, kumala,
Like, and then,
aladada.
and avaduti is the central channel, and we do use, well, that, I mean, we say rasana and lalana, so I don't know where that comes from, but, yeah.
Ini jola om jaga om yuba.
And then in the crown is a inverted white hung. Diniti chiwore or chalala. Yeah, and right, so the forehead, not in the crown, but like at the forehead level inside, I think.
Jipal om mato.
And the throat is an om, red om. And at the heart is a blue hung.
Devala, devala, an mapo.
And in the navel is a red ang.
Ini atong tadi.
And then below the navel is what is referred to as the ashe, or the half syllable, the inverted half which is below the navel, which is like the fire source.
I'm sorry, what do you call the one on the navel?
Ang. So there's an ang at the navel, and then there's ashe at the bottom, or in the, yeah.
What's the half also?
That, so ashe is like literally, that's the word in Tibetan, and sometimes we describe what that means is like a half ah. And so what it is if you see, this is obviously my translator elaboration, if you see an ah syllable in Tibetan, and it's like right side up, it's like, then you, if you know the syllable in Tibetan, there's like a triangular piece that's pointing down. So it's like just half of that ah flipped over is like basically an upside down triangle. But like thinner than a triangle, it's more like this. Yeah.
Can you spell it maybe?
Ang, A-N-G.
Yeah, in Tibetan as well.
I mean, I can show you. Ang de Tibetan gande do. It's like hung with the, you know how hung has the legor or the dot on top. So the ang has the same thing. The thing that's making the ang sound is the dot.
Does the
Ashe.
ashe have anything to do with the,
fire?
Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah. So she said, remember, it's like this tiny, like at the peak, the top of the ashe is a very thin little wisp of fire. Like at the point, coming off the point.
That Jivola Lasada Katan Lavio Marame.
Oh, also yesterday she didn't talk about the different numbers of petals or channels that come, for each chakra, so. So in the wheel of great bliss, in the crown that's in the crown, there are 32 root kind of channels coming off the main channels, what they call petals. So the petals to the crown chakra, 32. And in the throat chakra, there are 16. At the heart, there are 8. And at the navel, there are 64. So, and they're facing different ways. So like for instance, between the they're branching off of the central channel. And so like in the crown, it's like a right side up umbrella is the shape. And then the and then at the throat, it's like an upside down umbrella. So there's an example here.
So the top is the crown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all of the jury, yeah.
And then same thing, like in the heart, it's like a right side up umbrella. And then underneath that, the navel is like an upside down umbrella.
Does the navel include the root chakra? Or is that different? Okay.
Yeah, the root chakra is not appearing here.
They take a lesson, Tama, Tsa Lung, Tsa Lung, Jiho, the Party, or is some. It is
And so what's happening, like these main petals that are branching, or branches that are branching off of the central channel in each of the chakra, they split, then they branch off and become like they multiply. So, and then they spread through the whole body. So all of the channels, then that's like what kind of comprises the network of channels throughout the body.
So the Tsa Lung, the
So the three channels and the four chakras are really important. They're like the basis, the foundation of all subtle body practices, all practices of channels, and so she wants us to spend some time meditating, just visualizing the three channels and the four chakras. So then, yeah, so actually you can see in this image here, also they're different colors. So according to, the 6 yogas, actually the crown chakra is green. And then the throat is red, the heart is white, and the navel is red. And you can see the little triangle below the navel chakra, which is what the ashe, and the hum on the top here. So maybe we can, pass it over.
You can also put it into the camera.
Oh yeah, let me put it into the camera first.
Into the camera. Yeah.
So maybe the people on Zoom can see, you can see this is the top with the hum, and then the first green one, which is the crown, then the throat, and then red, and then the heart is the white one with the 8 branches, the navel, and then the ashe is the little triangle there that's below, 4-finger waist below the navel.
Because it's got the channels there. Oh, yeah, curve around.
It's upside down.
Yes.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah, she can do that.
That would be great.
She forgot about it. She would have sent it ahead of time so we could print it out, but she had forgotten about it.
We can do it over the lunch break.
Tsa Lung,
Actually, they have them for sale in Munich. And actually, there's a book. There's a great Tsa Lung book that Drupon has written, which has everything. It has the diagram. It has a lot of explanations for the practices, and they have those books for sale in Munich. Yeah, actually, when I came back from Germany, I brought a bunch of those books with me. I knew they would be gone immediately, and we brought them back to our center in Florida, and they were gone, in 9 days. Yeah.
Who was the author?
Drupon. Yeah, he's the other teacher at the Munich Center.
Can I ask a clarification question? On the crown, I switched it around because I thought it was a normal umbrella, then when I saw the picture again, it was an inverted umbrella.
The crown is not inverted, it's like right side up. Meaning if you're holding an umbrella, it's like that.
Okay,
Right.
that's how I shifted it.
But then the inverted umbrella is like the one in the throat, which is like if you think of like an upside down open umbrella.
Okay.
Meaning upside down, like it's overturned, like it's pointing up, yeah.
And again, at the navel, the same thing.
Yeah. At the navel, I think it's pointing up. At the heart, it's pointing down. You'll see. We'll make make sure that this picture gets sent out to everyone.
And forward to post.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So again, as you can see from the diagram too, all of the channels are coming off of the central channel. So there's central channel and they're branching off, they're coming out off of the central channel. And then they're branching out further and further and then kind of pervading through the whole body. So let's just take these last 10 minutes to meditate together on what we've just become familiarized with, which is, meditating on these 3 channels and the 4 chakras. And remember, your body is like the nature of rainbow light. It's hollow inside except for this network of channels and chakras. So relax, let your body just relax, settle into the posture, make sure that you're comfortable, your knees aren't hurting. So if you want to sit in a chair or sit comfortably on the floor, but with a straight spine and allow in a way that allows you to just fully and completely relax.
Okay,
Okay, so now we'll meditate together.
Thank you. Can do those stuff.
How is it, everyone?
Very nice.
When we start the breath through our nostrils, we take it in, and it goes down to the channel,
Yes.
and then the out breath is through the channel, the crown.
Oh. Yeah. Tinindi nube kala tinindi yeyo nika nema yongirwa nube kala. Tinindi par tangwe kala de chiwo ne tangyore So actually, no, in this case, you're exhaling through the nose, not through the crown. I know you've heard that somewhere else, Max, because I've heard that too. But in this case, she's teaching it out the nose.
Okay, is that visualization from here?
Oh, from the visualization on here, yeah.
Bring it in the center, we would bring it through the center, so bring it in through the two channels.
Tiniti nube kala de de yeyo ni ne no tini par tangwe kala de sa uma ne tangyore ve yana de yeyo ni ne tangyore. No, actually, so here you're breathing in through the two side channels and you're also breathing out through the two side channels. So you're not, the wind is not going through the central channel in your visualization. That's in the, when you're doing tumo, but yeah, with the breath, when we're doing the breath, then the wind is going in these two side channels and out these two side channels.
So we're actually emptying the channels.
Tiniti yandi Tsa ni tongbara ozogire. Yeah, they're empty. But then when you do like specific wind practices, then you're filling the channels with wind. But here we're just like flushing the channels. Yeah. And like little by little, there are different things you learn as you go.
You're not feeling or flushing.
Well, you are. I mean, you're breathing in and then you're breathing out, and that process is one of flushing.
And that's the in breath.
In breath, and then the out breath.
Is up.
Yeah. Yeah, both through the side channels. So when we do POA, of course, then we're only meditating on the central channel.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking of it like opening at the crown and, going out through the crown.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like pressure, it's like pressure up the crown area, it almost feels like an opening.
Some the Torwachi like your chiwola yam de kache is a result So there are all sorts of feelings that will come. And especially if you've done POA practice, then that makes sense that like that might stimulate a memory of like, work that opening of the channel. I don't remember, but what we can do is, I think Liz is I'm speaking for Liz, but I think she's gonna contact the center in Munich and make an order some of the books. She said she was gonna order some. Because I don't know, and she wouldn't know in English, the Tsa Lung She doesn't remember the name. But you can probably find it maybe on the internet too. No, probably not Amazon. Maybe we can try. But like, Drupon sharing channels wins and drops. I would recommend contacting the center in Munich and like setting it up and getting an order because it is, and of course shipping it from there, is a lot. But it's I think they're like $35 a piece if you then plus shipping or something.
이것도 발생은 이건 자루에 뺀 거라.
She's gonna look into it during the break.
산진이 좀 따는.
She'll see if she can find it online.
나는
Sarah, Drupon Sarah.
Sorry.
TSE.
Munich,
Yeah, I know.
Munich Garden Institute 말해.
Munich Garchen Institute, and Garchen Institute in Munich.
오케이, 그때 샘도 본다. 샘도.
So now we can close, break for lunch.